This is Senator John Laird, and I am really sorry I cannot be with you at the Democratic Women's Club Forum. I am on my way, as you see this, to New York City for Climate Week. We just had a very successful session with regard to climate, and a number of us from the legislature are going to New York to showcase what we're doing. So I am sorry that I can't be there. But I always talk to the Democratic Women's Club about propositions, and today I'm talking about Proposition 50. There's so much about this that you already know and is obvious, but let me go into it a little bit. The Central Coast is getting hit hard by the current administration. A lot of us worked hard to save Watsonville Hospital a few years ago, and the Medicaid cuts are threatening its very existence again. We worked hard to fund a levee project for Pajaro, and now the federal funding for some of it out a few years is being threatened. There's crops where we can't get them all picked because the immigration policies are scaring people that bring us food, and the agricultural industry in the Central Coast is endangered. We are walking away nationally from climate right at a time that it is very important. The University of California plays a big role in our community, and $4 to $5 billion is the threatened cut from the federal government. So if you just look at everything, we are really threatened on the Central Coast, and the only option we have is to make sure that the House of Representatives flips in the midterm elections to match exactly where the people are and exactly these issues to deal with it. The president knows this, so he is working hard to rig the election. He got Texas to redraw their House districts to flip as many as 5 seats to the Republicans. Missouri is looking at one, Indiana is looking at one, there's talks of other states, and if we don't take action in California, we allow them to rig the 2026 election. So that is why it was proposed, and we have put on the ballot Proposition 50. And when you look at what Texas did, they did it in a certain way. They broke up communities of color to be able to make more Republican districts, communities of color that are represented by Democrats of color. They did it in the legislature. They didn't go to the people. And they don't have a commission system, and they didn't propose going to a commission system. So if you look at all those things, that's how Texas did it. In California, we've done it a different way. We have a commission system, and we're not changing it, proposing changing it for the Assembly or the Senate, but for the House. And we would only change it through the 2030 election, and then it would go back to the commission process that exists. We worked hard so that communities of color are not divided, and in fact, if the maps on the ballot are adopted, there would likely be one more seat in California represented by a Latino. And the important thing is that we need to make sure that the national policy is reversed in this election. If we don't act in California, a 3% tilt to Democrats in the congressional vote nationally would result in an even number of seats. We have to fight fire with fire, because this is an existential crisis for democracy, an existential crisis for the rule of law, for the things that we hold dear. And so that's why we've put this on the ballot. It doesn't affect the Central Coast dramatically. Jimmy Panetta and Salud Carbajal would have exactly the same districts. Zoe Lofgren, who represents part of Santa Cruz County, would lose a little bit of San Jose and move into Coalinga in the Central Valley. But there are 5 places in California under these maps that the districts would rotate and a Democrat would likely be elected. In the area in the far north of the state, now represented by Republican Congressman Doug LaMalfa, in the foothills near Sacramento, now represented by Kevin Kiley, in southern San Joaquin County, now represented by David Valadao, in the east of Riverside and the Inland Empire, where the district of Ken Calvert would be collapsed. That would result in the Latino district in Los Angeles. And in northern San Diego County, where Darrell Issa would likely be squeezed out of his seat. Those would be 5 seats. Those would match what happened in Texas, so we still have an even playing field going forward. The interesting thing about this is I support commissions, and I ran in a very gerrymandered district that I lost in 2010 by between 3 and 4 points. But then when the district was ungerrymandered, I won by 145,000 votes. If you look at San Luis Obispo County, there was a horrible redistricting where they tried to jam in 2021 all the Democrats into one supervisorial district to make the other 4 competitive for Republicans. It backfired, but I did a bill last year that does an independent commission for San Luis Obispo, and I really talked on the floor about that because the very Republicans that now hold true to commissions didn't support the bill. I referred to them as born-again commission lovers, and when they said that politicians should not be allowed to choose their voters, I said on the floor of the Senate, unless you're from San Luis Obispo. And they said, reach into your soul. And I said, you reached into your soul, except if you're from San Luis Obispo. And they said, no political rigging. I said, unless you're from San Luis Obispo, because the very people that say we should stick with commissions want to stick with it because that doesn't respond to Texas. This is about President Trump. This is about the future of our democracy. This is about not allowing elections to be rigged. And interestingly, 2 of the biggest organizations that supported commissions, the League of Women Voters and Common Cause, are staying neutral in this race in California because they understand. So that is a dissection of the issue. What you would be voting on Prop 50 was the maps, going to 2030 with these maps, going back to the commission after this, and not affecting state offices and the redistricting. This is very important. And so and originally we had a trigger in this that California wouldn't do it until Texas did it. But before we put it on the ballot, Texas did it. So we just knew they were doing it. No trigger was required. So I hope you will consider this very carefully. This is not about setting aside good government. This is about protecting good government, protecting the rule of law, and protecting our Central Coast from what the federal government is doing to it. Thank you for allowing me to present, and I look forward to seeing you all in person soon.